Welcome to the mid-month catch-up. Not Hunts, but Heinz, baby. So this is a part of the podcast where I share a little about myself with you and let you in, but not all the way in. And I think it's funny because I know that some people think that I share a lot, but in my opinion, I'm just being social. I'm not like divulging out a ridiculous amount of information about my real life. Like, aside from sharing about my breast cancer journey, which I felt was my duty, period. But aside from that, as I reflect on other things that I usually share on Instagram and social media channels, I don't think that it's anything dangerous. So, like, off the top of my head, you could get the inside scoop of my plant mom life and my organization strategies and my cooking sagas and my interior decorating vibes, right? And my binge TV rants. And I think those are pretty harmless things to share. And Mother Chronicles, right? How could I forget sharing about Mother Chronicles? Like, but for the most part, like, that's the gist of what I put out there on social media. And of course, like, carnival things, right? But some of that shit, especially like the Mother Chronicles shit, like, that needs to be shared. Cause I be like, am I alone? Am I alone here? QTNA. But anyway, but this is what this is. This mid-month check-in, I look forward to, right? I look forward to the rants. I really do. And it's an opportunity for me to get the wonky shit that I encounter in life off my chest. And an opportunity to share tips and gems that I feel selfish keeping to myself. And while I did grow up an only child, I never had that bratty demeanor. Yeah, bratty. You got to put the brr on there. And you can ask my mother. And while she does like to talk shit, she will be honest and tell you that I was not your typical only child. So I said all that to say, with all the shit that be popping off around me, I have got to share these things. And so for those of you who are here for it, who tune in on a regular basis, I thank you. I thank you. What had happened was, so prior to my January 1st episode, I hadn't published an episode since October 30th of 2020. And quite frankly, I needed that break. And I needed it for a number of reasons. And I don't know about anybody else, but I have noticed over some years now that I tend to get moody towards the end of the year. I was feeling overwhelmed. I didn't feel like being bothered with people. My patience level was on like -12. And I was just in a very reflective funk, which meant that I needed to fall all the way back and gather myself. So as I sit now and look at my planner, shout out to Passion Planner, and I think about everything that took place since the end of October, I can say that it's been a pretty full couple of months, right? Complete with ups, complete with downs, granted mostly ups. So I'm not going to complain about stuff, but I am going to share with you some of like the little highlights of what's been going on, right? So travel wise, let's talk about travel. Travel Bay and I went to Miami on this little short staycation at the end of October. And we had a blast. We had a blast on South Beach. We stayed at a Kimpler resort. I think it was on Collins. And all we did was, we hit up some foodie spots. We enjoyed great weather. And we relaxed. Like, that legit was all that we did. I do wish that I brought my skates because they had Collins. Was it Collins? No, they had Ocean, whatever, one of them streets, the one that's by the beach. They had that blocked off for vehicles. So it was only a pedestrian zone. And I was like, yo, I would have brought my roller skates because that would have made my whole life to just roll down the streets of South Beach and giving me all types of positive vibes. But if you want to hear more about that trip, there is a little video on my IGTV page. If you just go back a couple of months and you'll see that there. We also a couple of months later, was that last month? When the hell did we go to? I think we went to New Orleans in December. Or was that November? I don't remember. But anyway, we went to New Orleans and got our tourist vibes on. And the highlights from that trip were definitely these wings I got from this place around the corner from where we were staying. I think it was called My Mama's Kitchen. Listen, them wings, they had all the seasoning up in there. Okay. Another highlight was the swamp tour that we went on from beginning to the end, from the bus ride there and back, with all of the historical facts that our driver, I think his name was Charlie, was giving us. It was just really nice. And then the little stroll and the photo shoot session that we had in Louis Armstrong Park. Like, I really enjoyed just chilling in NOLA. But again, I was in my funk, and it took me about a day and some change to get out of it. But I don't regret going. I will say that they were out there, like, in both places. Like, people were just out, like, y'all out here like COVID ain't a thing, and just no mask, just out here just winging it and just risking it all. But it's okay, to each their own. All I can do is just make sure that I keep myself safe, right? So that's that for the travel. Learning. Many of you who are listening know that I taught myself how to design carnival accessories from like over 5-6 years ago. And over those years, I have posted tutorials, I've held workshops, I've done online courses just to help other people learn as well. But I was always, and still, right, like, crave knowledge, and I'm still looking for like that official lesson from someone deep in the game. To my surprise, here come this post on Instagram in early fall talking about Fonrose launching this thing called CarniCademy. I say, what? The Toxic Cakers people say, what? You lie. So, child, no, Tingz was true, eh? So when I tell you I sent my money stat, like, y'all know I like inaugural things. Rest in peace to Uber Soca Cruise 2016. Best to ever do it. Talk done. Anyway, so I took the course, right? I took the course, and it took my carnival making skills up a couple notches, even though I'm not even practicing at the moment, but that's neither here nor there. But I will say this, shout out to Natalie Fonrose, because I really appreciate her for creating that space for those who are truly serious about the craft. So I'll tell you a little bit of information about it, right? So it was a 4-week course, and each week she had another designer co-hosting with her. So we were able to be taught not only by Fonrose, but by Marie Colette, by Sean, by David Dewar. I mean, I don't think that can be beat, right? And she shipped the materials to us in advance from Trinidad. So what we got in our package was 2 wire bra frames, a collar frame, or a collar, like a backpack frame, 2 tiara frames. We got some pretty fabric. We had foam. We got backing. We got cardboard. And then we got some like trinkets from her with her, like, her brand and logo on it, right? So I feel like that was money well spent. And the vibes are great, and it was pretty well organized, like, sure, there's always room for growth, but I honestly didn't have any major complaints with what went down. And we would just be working for hours, chatting it up, and just learning. As a heads up, the course that I took, it didn't teach us how to wire bend. It was more so focused on constructing and embellishing frames that were provided. So if you already have a firm understanding of how to construct and embellish, then you may want to wait on the more advanced class, because she is supposed to be coming out with some other courses. But I will say that the intimate conversations surrounding costume production and networking, photography, and just the carnival industry as a whole, all of those conversations were invaluable. And I feel like I wouldn't be able to get that anywhere else, because people in the carnival industry can be real tight-lipped. But anyway, so if you're interested, her new session begins on February 20th. It's $500 US. The deadline to register is February 12th. And last I checked, she was accepting a payment plan of sorts. So there's that. Now let's take a minute to talk about some entertainment. So I came back from NOLA just in time to get snowed in with my new flat screen TV. Now, I'm not that person who every Black Friday or whatever goes out and buys a new TV just because they're on sale. That's not me. I've had the same TV for 11 years, damn near. I bought my first flat screen back in 2010 when I moved into my first big girl apartment in Newark. And that's the same one that I had been rocking with for a while until I got another one as a gift a couple years ago. So this one conked out and I ended up, getting another one. So once I hooked that up, I decided to have some fun and maximize, my coins. So I got back into gaming. If y'all don't know, I'm a gamer girl. I still got my Nintendo. Shit, I plugged up my original PS1 because, all the vibes were talking about the PS, 5 that they're at right now. That's out. But yeah, I plugged up the original PS1, yes, from like 1992. And I just wanted to see if it was still working. And it does work. It works. So, yep, good to go. So I take care of my Tingz, man. I just do. That's always been my thing. And surely one of the characteristics that I know my mother respects about me. Haha. So with the TV now, I got back into gaming and then I got back into like my fitness because, I had some struggles over the spring. I got cleared after my surgery in February. So then a couple of months after that, I was able to get back into the workouts. But then because I had taken such a time off and then my back was like, what are you doing? And then that conked out for a little bit. But, I'm back. I'm that type of person that back in the day, I used to do like, first of all, when I was like 8, I would do Jane Fonda tapes that my mother had, and I would just exercise them because I thought it was fun, and she had on Reebok classes with her tights and the leggings, and I would do the same. And then Billy Blanks came into being popular, and so I would do his VHS tapes rather. And then when we got hooked up to cable, I would go to like the B station. For all y'all know, when cable used to be on the AB station in Boston, I would do like the Crunch Fitness shows. So I like doing exercises at home where there is an instructor. I mean, sure, I can do it by myself, but it's just more fun and there's more accountability if someone is actually telling you what to do as opposed to me going on Instagram, looking up routines and forgetting, and then I got to log back in when the screen goes blank, and it's just too much work. Also, too much work to go to YouTube. So Samsung Health app, if you have a newer Samsung TV, and I'm sure the other smart TVs have them as well, then just go to the app, scroll through some programs, and they have like 10 days, 5-day programs, all different things that are up there for free, and just use it. Like I love my new TV. I think it's the QT something. Anyway, it's great. Let me tell you what I've been binge watching. In the fall, I was binge watching Dawson's Creek, which is honestly, it's a good show. # Team Pacey. Dawson's an asshole and he's mad and mature and he's mad, selfish and narcissistic. Anyway, I don't really care for him. I had to pause watching because I was getting too many headaches with the back and forth. I also started and finished Chicago Fire, which I love. I love Chicago Fire. Did y'all know that Chief Bowden, forget his real name, but he's Trini and Grenadian. He is from the UK, but he's Trini and Grenadian. Look at that. And he is a dancer. Right. Anyway, so I just started season 7 of Chicago PD, and I wanted to watch PD after Fire because, all of the Chicago shows are woven together, and I'm very glad that I'm a part of the Chicago team now. I don't think that I'm going to watch Med because I'm not really interested. I think I'm already addicted to Grey's Anatomy and that other show that I can't remember with Theo. The Resident, like that. Like I'm good on another Med show, right? But I do want to take some time out to talk about the glow ups. And if you watch PD, then you already know I'm talking about the glow ups with Atwater and Ruzak. Listen, I'm here for the Beard Gang Nation all day. Just watching them from season 1. I'm doing this within like weeks, right? So it's quick. So if you watch Chicago, any of the Chicagos, and you see how they are when they start, and you see them now, like I'm about to begin season 7 of PD, and they fine, y'all. They fine. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. And then of course, everyone right now is talking about Bridgerton. And if y'all have not heard, Shonda has done it again, and the show will be back for a whopping 8 seasons. Like 8 seasons surrounding the consequences of poor pullout practices. I can't wait. So now we're going to take a moment, as promised, to talk about the changes that have taken place with Tingz Nice. First and foremost, Nice-ish has been laid to rest.
How do I say goodbye?
Rest in peace. As I mentioned in the first episode of season 2, this is no longer a carnival specific podcast. And I feel so much relief saying that, because I felt confined. And for those of you who know me for real, you know that I don't like to be boxed in, right? I need to be free. And that being said, the new description of the Tingz Nice podcast is as follows. The Tingz Nice podcast entered its 2nd season in 2021.
All right.
We'll be blessing you with all the hot topics surrounding Caribbean American culture, entrepreneurship, and a bunch of other stuff you didn't know you wanted to know.
Say it, sis.
Gems will be dropped. Various perspectives will be shared, and unfiltered opinions will be presented.
3 snaps.
Each episode will offer an entertaining yet informative space for those looking for a little bit of this and a sprinkle of that. Anything goes here on the Tingz Nice podcast. You like how I switched that up? Anyway, so yeah, that's that. Then it's bye-bye blog posts, because I ain't got time. This is not a figure of speech. I do not have the time. Okay? The blog posts are gone.
Deuces.
The Instagram feed is basically the blog post. Hello, new IG feed. And I know you've seen it. And it looks different than it did before. And that's intentional. My captions are longer. Anything that I'm doing or whatever that I normally would post on my website as a full post is now on Instagram. And I think that's okay. I'm okay with it. I hope you're okay with it too. Also, while we're talking about Instagram, farewell to Handmade T'ingz IG page.
Deuces.
That is now a private page for me to scroll through craft pages for hours on end, gathering knowledge and inspiration. So if you're following there, please feel free to unfollow. You're not going to hurt my feelings, because there aren't going to be any new posts there at all. And again, that is intentional. Everything that I do that is Tingz Nice related, from the podcast to the designs to just me doing foolery to my recipes, it's going to be on Instagram. And I'm going to talk about it here in these little mid-month conversations. All right. That's that. And then, as I just mentioned, designs, there is going to be consistent earring restocks every other month. So my first launch was December 4th, and that was hella successful. And I was really, really, really surprised. So shout out to everybody who made a purchase last month. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you. So I'm currently in the lab whipping up some super cute earrings for launch on February 1st, which is the start of Shoppery. And if I get done sooner, I might launch earlier, but there's no promises there. But I do want to give you a heads up about what you are going to see at the launch. So this go around, you're going to see some mixed media designs with clay and resin in very attractive, muted colors that I made myself. I just want to say that I made them myself. These are legit, like, once in a lifetime colors that I may not be able to recreate. So get it while you can. I'm also throwing some fabric pieces up there on the website. I may even throw in some portrait-based earrings of notable figures. But I will say that there's basically just going to be a lot more variety with this launch. Hint, hint, for those of you who love cowrie shells, it's your time for show. Like for show. So make sure you take yourself to www.tingznice.com/handmade T'ingz, as you know, with a Z at the end. And whatever did not sell from the December restock will be up there as well. And I also have some stuff left over from October. So all that stuff is going to be up there. And at some point, my custom order form, specifically for earrings, clay, resin, whatever, that's going to be up on the website as well. I'm just trying to organize my calendar and see when would be a good time to start that, because I got plans, y'all. I got plans. So since we're already talking about the website, this is a good time for me to tell you that it does look a little different right now than it did before. When I think about it, ironically, the first website that I designed is still my favorite to this day. But I had to leave Wix behind because they were trying to squeeze too much money out of me that I didn't have. So I migrated to WordPress a couple years ago. Now, when you go to tingznice.com today, you'll notice that it has changed once again. And I personally think that's okay as long as it's changing for the better and I'm providing an improved visitor experience. I say, why not? So within that same vein, you'll see that the landing page has all of the important links right there at your fingertips. So my IG, my Carnivalista link, my YouTube channel link. There is a link that will lead you to all of the featured articles and interviews that I've been on other platforms. And there's some more stuff on there as well. Now, in the past, I've had a section on the website called Carnival Central, which was dedicated to providing information on specific carnivals and events. So I've now hidden those pages for the moment, because I want to redesign them. But the good news is that you still have access to all of the old blog posts that were linked to those pages. Then we have the Handmade T'ingz page, which is where you would go to purchase the accessories that I make and that I have in stock. I know that the merchandise shop was there before. That's currently down as well because I'm going to be bringing it back later this year. So the merchandise where I was selling like the t-shirts and the cups and the hats, those will be back because clearly I have to do some more rebranding because, again, like nice is just no longer a thing. So we're just strictly sticking to Tingz Nice merchandise. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Then there's my portfolio page, which is a staple that honestly has not changed since the first rendition of my website. And that consists of all of my past custom designs, which will also be back later this year as well. So just for clarity's sake, like I live a real life, you know, I'm a human, I got a whole 9 to 5 and then some, and then I have all these other responsibilities. So I just want to ensure that I'm settled enough and in a position to actually be able to take orders. The order form, however, is ready to go, and I'm excited for clients to use it because it's all organized, and I think that I got all the questions right, and I think it just has exactly what I need to get all the information necessary for a custom order. So I am excited about that. And then the other thing that, or the other page rather, that is available is the podcast landing page. And that is where you can go to listen to all the episodes of the show that I've done right from the website. So if you don't have, you know, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of the other programs, you can just go to the website and listen to them right there. So another change is that I left Anchor. When I started my podcast last year, I hosted it on Anchor. I grew out of Anchor because they weren't really providing me with what I needed. And shout out to Carrie Ann for putting me onto BuzzFeed. So now I switched over to BuzzFeed, and that is now where my podcast is hosted. Best move ever. The downside is that I wasn't able to transfer my statistics over, but that's okay. Like, I already know how y'all held me down for nearly 8,000 downloads last year. And we're going to see if we can just beat that in 2021, right? That's all. I'm not really big on, the statistics I know, but it's okay if I don't have that any longer. We're just going to start from the bottom up. And then a side note, for those of you who do listen on Spotify, make sure that you're actually following the Tingz podcast on there. I had a little womp womp, as Corrupt would say. And if y'all don't know who Corrupt is, don't worry about it. But for those of y'all who do, you know Corrupt. So Corrupt would say, I had a little womp womp. And Spotify had like 3 versions of my show on their platform. And not all of them were showing the current episode. So I remember that, like, of course, I subscribed to myself, and I was noticing that the episode stopped in like April. I'm like, what is going on? And then I did another search, and I found a second version of my podcast where it had all of the up-to-date episodes. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I switched over. I had a new RSS feed. And then when I switched over to BuzzFeed, then I had 3 versions on Spotify. And I was like, what is going on? So after some investigation and some troubleshooting with the Spotify reps, they were able to sort me out. So just double check again on Spotify to make sure you're still following me. And if you're not, just hit the button again. That's it. And last but not least, I have given MailChimp my business. So those of you who are subscribed to my newsletter will notice that I hope that they look a lot more attractive than they were before. So that's one thing that I'm also excited about. All right. So one more thing. Remember how I was doing Carnival Crown Revoked? That is still a thing. And what my plan is to move that program to Instagram Live. So I really am going to be more present on IG Live and have those little contests that way. And there's also a way for, if someone doesn't know the answer, people in the audience could help. But y'all really have to like maintain yourselves if you're watching and not give out the answer right away. Okay, so that's what's going to happen with Carnival Crown Revoked. I don't want to get rid of that because it is a lot of fun to host, and I know that it's a lot of fun for my guests as well. So if you're interested in being on the show, just look out for the cues in my IG stories and in my feed to see when the next Carnival Crown Revoked is going to be on IG Live. In the next episode, which is going to be the start of February, and I'm very excited for the guests that I have coming up. It's going to be a nice month, so stay tuned for a lot of Instagram interactions, a lot of IGTV stuff. I'm also on Clubhouse. Look for me at Tingz. Also, if you can't find me, send me your Clubhouse name and I'll find you. I am Team Android, but I still have my iPhone. That's how you got to work the system. So yeah, find me on there. And yeah, I'm going to have weekly Clubhouse discussions to help with planning for the podcast. So I do have like focus groups for the podcast on Clubhouse. So join me on the Fridays and I'll let you know. Just stay tuned into my IG stories. So that's all I got for y'all. That's all I got for y'all for this mid-month check-in. Thank you for joining me and I appreciate you. All right.
Deuces.